Welcome back on Gaming. This is Devin, and since The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster just came out on PS5, just wanted to go ahead and look at the pricing a bit, just because, if you already own the game, it costs like $10 to go ahead and upgrade to the remaster, or, just a physical game itself being priced at $50. I personally think that it's just a scam. I mean, I already had a lot of problems with the remaster coming out in general, but I bet, some of these reasons here that I go ahead and provide, even people that love this game and defend it, obsessively, will even agree with some of these points here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing here is that, this is all over social media, this game, or at least that I've been seeing. And I really do love or enjoy seeing the differences, the side-by-sides between the PS4 version or the PS4 version run on the PS5, or, of course, it's remaster version. And they all look exactly the same. And, of course, a lot of people in the comments say exactly the same thing. And, of course, these probably look, or this remaster probably looks really good if you have an amazing pricey TV. But, if you have just a standard or, just a regular TV, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be pretty difficult to see major changes. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that, Naughty Dog spent a lot of time on this, a lot of money, a lot of hours in that. But really, you can't really tell the difference between the PS4 version and then this remaster. But I mean, the thing I can say that, Naughty Dog did a phenomenal job with was the original PS4 version, just because they made that version just look phenomenal itself, that, it really didn't even need the remaster because, it was done correct the first time. But, the game is phenomenal looking, the remaster. I did go ahead and do the upgrade myself, the $10 upgrade. And yeah, I've been playing it a little bit. I have some gameplay showing from my gameplay of it, and, looks good, but pretty much can't tell the difference between the PS4 version or PS4 on the Pro or 5, whatever it may be, but they all look very, very similar. But of course, with the remaster, since we've already talked about, it looking very similar, what else is included in a remaster? So there's the no return survival mode, lost levels, guitar free play, and then of course some new skins, or that skins for your characters, which all this together, it could pretty much be a DLC. I mean, we just saw it with God of War, which was their sort of like roguelike, DLC that they just came out with, which was free, which was phenomenal, and especially having it for free. But I mean, all this content that they would have had and added, I do not think is justified by, having it be $10. It's not $10 worth. And especially since, we never got a multiplayer mode, the factions too. And, since I was thinking about that, or, that even the survival mode, I went ahead and I played a little bit of the survival mode. And one of the things that's very disappointing about it is that it's only single player. This survival mode, I think, would have done a lot better, or, people would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was multiplayer. And, it sort of reminds you of the Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3 multiplayer, where they had the different, waves of enemies in that. And that was, a blast playing. I mean, the survival mode, it's fun, but, it just would have been a lot more fun playing with people online, or just, couch co-op kind of thing there as well. But yeah, just thinking about the multiplayer though with this, and how the multiplayer was not added, I wanted to make sure that I was remembering everything correctly, because there was a lot going on at that time with the leaks of The Last of Us Part 2 before it came out. The whole shutdown, Naughty Dog's trying to do damage control in that. But I was able to find a video before the game actually came out, because I wanted to make sure that they talked about the multiplayer Factions 2 before the game was actually released. And I was actually able to find a clip around that time where um, Neil Druckmann was talking about how they were trying to go ahead and look into a future multiplayer that, of course, would not ship with the game, but that would be, coming out afterwards, which, of course, more recently has been canceled than that. But back then, he did talk about that before the game actually released um, in 2020. But yeah, so what he basically was talking about was that they were hard at work trying to, think of some revolutionary multiplayer revolving around some new mechanics and such. But that's pretty much what he was talking about in that. But yes, they were talking about having a multiplayer in addition to the Last of Us Part 2. So, I mean, the reason why I'm really talking about this, though, is that Neil Druckmann, Naughty Dog, confirmed that there was going to be a multiplayer mode with this game. We don't specifically know, what would have happened with that if this would have been something that they would have charged for, or, you would have had to have the original Last of Us Part 2 to go ahead and play this multiplayer. But this was sort of planned before the game came out. So I'm more than willing to bet that a lot of people went ahead and purchased this game just for this new Factions or whatever multiplayer was going to be coming out, just so then they can go ahead and be prepared to go ahead and download this here. And it's a real shame because if you were one of those people that went ahead and purchase it just so that you can play the multiplayer eventually, you never got that. You heard that they were going to go ahead and do that, and they just never produced it. And from what we were seeing, they even had leaks of the multiplayer as well, which looked really good in that. And don't really blame people for being excited for it in that, but we just never got that. So what I sort of feel like is that Naughty Dog, they should have just tried to make this up for us. They should have, helped out the paying customer. They should have just had this, this survival mode, boss levels, new skins, be all free, be a DLC that's, included if you bought the game or not. Or, well, if you bought the game, they should have had this included. But, with that, with the DLC part of it there, or, if you bought the game, you should have gotten this included with it. But going back to the full game, that's $50. I think that this retail copy should be $30 at most. And I know a lot of people like to compare like Sony's remasters and remakes to Nintendo, but I just think that Nintendo does a better job and it makes more sense for theirs. Because I mean, remakes, remasters. I mean, Metroid, that game is what, $80 on GameCube. Mario RPG makes a lot of sense. Even a game like Mario Kart made a lot of sense just because, of course, they added a bunch of stuff. But I mean, no one had the Wii U, and I mean, I'm willing to bet that a lot of people that bought on Wii U also bought on the Switch. But I mean, it just made sense too because the Switch wasn't backwards compatible with the Wii U as well, which, I mean, in this case, if you weren't able to play The Last of Us Part 2 on PS5, if PS5 was not backwards compatible, it probably would make a lot more sense to go ahead and have this come out. But, it's easily accessible. I mean, I was able to find copies of this at Walmart, lots of copies of it at Walmart. So, I mean, it's still out there and it's being sold side by side with this new remaster of The Last of Us Part 2. But to go sort of back to, just the value of these games. So for Nintendo, I mean, the lowest some of those games get are, what, $35? I mean, Mario Odyssey, I think I've seen at around $35 a lot of the time. But they never get that low in price. And so, of course, what that ends up doing is that, the cheapest that you typically see these games is like $35 or maybe a little bit less than that, but they never really go that far down in value. On the other hand, PlayStation, uh, a lot of their big games, their first party games, become free with PlayStation Plus. And then they even get as low as $9.99 for their first party games. But the reason why I say specifically $9.99 is that The Last of Us Part 2 was on their PlayStation Store at $9.99. And of course, I think I remember seeing a lot of Black Friday sales with it being that price. But me personally, I did not want to buy this game at $60. You know, for my just myself with The Last of Us Part 2, I'm not a big fan of the game. I did not want to support it with $60. So I did go ahead and wait for it, and it ended up being $9.99. And I think I actually paid probably around $5 for it with the PlayStation Stars rewards or that. But I remember it being $9.99 a lot of the time, or a fair amount of the time. 2023, 2022. So I mean, this game was pretty cheap at some points. And for myself, typically when I see a game be, as low as $9.99, I do not want to pay much more than that price for it. So knowing that it was as low as $9.99, I want to try to pay as close as possible to that, just because that's where sort of Sony values this game at. If they were able to go ahead and put it down to $9.99, that's probably where it's really at. And then for them to go ahead and make this $9.99 game to $50, that is just ridiculous. And like we just talked about, I mean, the visualness is not really that different. That survival mode is definitely not worth that much. I mean, like I said, I think it's free DLC is what it's worth. But, it's just insane with the pricing for this. And, like I said, it's just insane. But anyways, let me know your, views in that below. What points you do agree with on this. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.
I see her!